Hey guys, so United obviously absolutely brilliant tonight. Fantastic 6-2 victory over Leeds. And, right from the start, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer had clearly done his analysis, clearly done his homework, worked out how Leeds played, and he'd worked out a game plan to mitigate that and allow United to go forward on the front foot, create 1v1 situations for our dangerous attackers, and make the most of our superior individual quality. So tonight it was a victory from a tactical point of view, victory from an individual point of view, from a fitness point of view. Everything that we could have wanted from the game went right. So full credit has to go to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and the coaching staff for this one. Now, in terms of the first tactical point that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer got absolutely spot on, it's from right from the start, the way Leeds play, the way they look to play the ball out from the back. So they often look, like quite a lot of teams do, for that pass into their defensive midfield player who drops in late. So the structure forms the centre-back split kind of further out wide. Normally the striker gets attracted to one centre-back, and so the DM there, in this case Calvin Phillips, drops in, shows for the ball, and then he plays it straight out to either full-back on either side. And what Leeds do is they look to attack really quickly to catch the opposition out and sort of defeat them by playing at pace. And what they do with that is they get players running forwards, whether it's the fullbacks, whether it's the central midfield players. Everyone, as soon as they get that ball into Calvin Phillips, looks to move forwards quickly. And so what United needed to do, and what we did really well, was that every time that ball went out to the fullback, and rather than doing the different pressing strategy we've used before, every time that ball went out to the fullback, McTominay and Fred, as those midfield players of Leeds pushed up, McTominay and Fred were able to nip in front of them and recover the ball in those midfield areas. We stopped that ball coming back in field from the fullbacks, and that was why we were so good at turning that ball over, recovering it, and attacking quickly. And that, when you've got the midfield players of Leeds moving forwards and the fullbacks moving forwards, gives a lot of space for the likes of Martial, Rashford, Fernandes and Dan James in those advanced areas. So that's why we were so good in the early periods in particular. And then, if you add on top of that, Fred and McTominay breaking from midfield, you've got Luke Shaw did it a fair amount of times. I mean, what's the world come to? Luke Shaw's making overlapping runs without being told to. It was a mad game. It was ridiculous. And the main point is that Solskjaer got this spot on. He knew where Leeds were looking to play. He knows that they have a lot of set patterns of play, and he worked out exactly how to go about disrupting those. So that was fantastic to see, and really good from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Manchester United in particular. So the thing he exploited the most was the fact that because the Leeds players are moving that way with so much speed, they've got to turn, and that takes time. So by the time McTominay and Fred have got that ball, they're 5-10 yards beyond the Leeds midfield line, and they're able to move that ball forwards or just drive with it, run and carry that ball forwards. I guarantee, looking at the stats, there'll be some of the most progressive carries, passes, and just progressive movements in general and running from Fred and McTominay because the space was available, and because Solskjaer identified that if they can get behind that Leeds, the advanced Leeds central midfield players, they'll have a lot of space to move that ball forwards, and that's what they did really well. Now, when United had the ball from deep, what we had a lot of times was Leeds going man for man, as they often do. So they had the high press of the front three against our back four, and then they went man for man on Fred and McTominay. And what United were good at doing was moving that ball long first and over that midfield to get rid of this problem, because Fred and McTominay in that situation, when they play square passes between them, they're prone to sort of losing that ball or not having enough penetration forwards, and the ball gets turned over and we're in trouble. So what they did really well today, United, was as soon as that ball got into Fred or McTominay, or even just straight away from the back line, they would play that ball forwards, or if it was Lindelof sometimes, he'd carry it forwards, run out of the back line, step forwards, and move that ball away from the danger zone, completely neutralise Leeds' press. And that gave United the ability to move that ball forwards quickly. And obviously in this situation, even if it is a 5-on-4 with the defensive midfielder there, but most of the time it wasn't because Leeds did get their fullbacks forward, United 1v1 are going to beat Leeds in that sort of situation. So it was fantastic to see from United that we got things tactically spot on. So, Oliomi says, hello, hi, how are you doing? Hope you enjoyed that fantastic performance. Jason says, we overpressed them, because of which we had 2 goals in 3 minutes. Yeah, I mean, it was a mad start. It was a ridiculous start to the game. And in terms of the way we were pressing, I was quite pleased that in general, for the majority of the game, we didn't expose Wan-Bissaka. Because quite often in these situations, we let Wan-Bissaka go and press the fullback. So we let let's say Martial go and press that centre-back, Dan James presses this one, Fernandes on the defensive midfielder, Wan-Bissaka comes forward. And what that allows is then, if any of the Leeds players get it, they can play that ball straight down that line, And we know Lindelof in those situations when he's dragged out wide can be a bit weak at times. So it was really good that United kept the back four intact for the vast majority of the game. And when we did want to press the fullbacks out wide, it was McTominay or Fred on either side that went out to press them. And rather than sort of going for a full pitch press, we just hemmed Leeds in, went for a half court press instead. So only pressed the ball side. So that was impressive to see, and a good reflection on Solskjaer again, tactically, that he's changed things which hadn't worked previously and didn't expose a major weakness in Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Now, he did get beaten a couple of times at the back post, Wan-Bissaka, but for the majority of the game, he wasn't exposed and he was able to do what he was good at, just tackling, basically. Now, another thing I was really impressed with from United was Anthony Martial here. His movement was fantastic. At times, when Leeds had their back four here, what he would do, and knowing full well that Leeds like to go man-to-man, is he would drop off really deep and drag Luke Ayling with him. And what that meant was that when that ball came into Martial, which it so often did, and he was able to hold it up and turn his man brilliantly, there was then a lot of space, because the Leeds right back was covering, the centre-back had to shift across, the left-back had to drop in, and it gave a lot of space for Rashford, Fernandes and Dan James. So that little bit of movement, when I say movement in this case, I don't just mean moving forwards, it's the vertical movement, so forwards and backwards. And in this case, it was backwards movement from Martial to drag Ayling out of position and leave a lot of space here for the United players to exploit. So it's fantastic, not just the way we were exploiting Leeds in midfield, in the way they like to be on the front foot, but also the way that we're exploiting their defence by dragging them out of position. Because so often, when we play against deep block teams, Martial comes deep and the centre-backs don't follow him. So we don't affect the opposition shape, we don't really do anything that makes it harder for us to play the ball forwards. So in this game, it was really nice that Ayling did go with him, and so Martial kept doing that. And to be honest, apart from a couple of chances that he 100% should be putting away, Anthony Martial I thought was absolutely brilliant. Olayomi says, why did we continue to concede from the corners? It's worrying. Yeah, it is worrying. So the zonal marking system doesn't seem to be working too well from United. And I think part of it seems to just be the aggression. We're not able to get up and get that ball out of zones. Whether it's, I don't know what the solution is really, whether it's getting De Gea out and putting Henderson in because he's supposed to be more commanding. Obviously we saw against Sheffield, they just crowded Henderson. Maybe that's just a facade. Maybe he's not actually that good at going and claiming corners. So whether it's De Gea, Henderson, I don't really know what the solution is there. But it seems that the zonal marking system isn't really working for us. And to be honest, today, I think if there was ever a day to go man for man at corners, it's today, because the Leeds team are smaller. We saw our advantage when we had set pieces. We won pretty much every header. So it would have been better for us to go man for man today, because we were so much superior individually to them in the air. In terms of any other comments, so Jason Becker, Maguire never really commands the box. Well, yeah, that's a fair point. Maguire he's only as big as he is. Like he can't be everywhere all the time. Now, he's fantastic when the ball gets dropped right on his head, but when it doesn't, we haven't got that many dominant aerial presences to win the first ball. Everyone will know by now, United have got a really tall team in general. If you go through the team, obviously Shaw's over 6 foot, the two centre-backs, Scott McTominay's massive, Martial, Rashford, they're all tall players. So Overall, United are one of the taller teams in the league, I'd say. So we should be winning, but we don't have players who are dominant from that first ball. On second balls, we should be winning them because we're naturally taller. But on those first balls, we're lacking players who are dominant in the air to win them. And Lindelof's improving in that area, as Solskjaer's alluded to recently, but we're still not quite there yet, and that is giving us a bit of weakness from set pieces. So there is that. Now, in terms of other tactical points, Leeds, obviously United did well to keep the back four intact, as I've said. We were really good at creating 1v1 battles, whether it's Rashford 1v1 against the fullback, and whatever it was, throughout the game, we exploited where our individual quality was superior. And so for that, full credit again to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and the coaching staff. Now, towards the end of the game, something else I saw which I was pretty pleased with was Leeds, when I think they were trying really aggressively to win the ball back from United. And when we did go wide to Martial or Rashford in those wide areas here, they would send 2, sometimes 3 men to go and press the player. And most of the time, this tended to be not when they're running in behind, but when they controlled the ball and rather than looking to move it on straight away, had taken a touch and sort of not really moved anywhere. So the Leeds would send 2 or 3 players in to try and win that ball. And rather than letting them win it, United were really good at retaining possession there. And as soon as you retain possession, move the ball out of that area, you'll have dominance elsewhere on the pitch, just pure numbers. So that was really, really pleasing to see from United, and another area where we were fantastic tactically, when Leeds threw something else at us. Damien says, I'm always panicking at corners against us. Yeah, I think all of us are, mate, to be honest. Leeds we shouldn't be struggling from corners because again, we're one of the taller teams, but yeah, I think it's just that lack of players who are going to go out and win that first ball. Jason says, Martial was great with his assists and hold-up play, but his finishing was terrible. Yes. Martial, honestly, people will go out and criticise him for this game because he missed 2 fantastic chances. And yes, he has to put them away. He should have been putting them away, obviously. We all know that. But outside of that, I think his touch, his control throughout the entire game was absolutely brilliant. It was his first touch, his second touch, the entire game, whether it was bringing the ball down from a height, whether it was getting around a man, his control and his dribbling was absolutely incredible. So Martial does deserve a lot of credit. As does Dan James. I mean, when Martial dropped off, dragging Ayling with him, it was Rashford and Dan James often going in behind, stretching the Leeds defence. So he was giving them multiple challenges at the same time, making it difficult for them to deal with. So James deserves credit. I think obviously Scott McTominay became prime Zidane tonight, so fantastic performance from him. A lot of credit has to go to him. I was impressed with Lindelof, the way he stepped out of the defence as well. He did really good job, I think, for the majority of the game. Luke Shaw as well, overlapping. We don't see that from him without sort of it being so obvious. So it was nice to see him sprinting forwards, making overlapping runs tonight. So I think there was a lot of players that deserve a lot of credit. Fred as well was pretty good. Recovering the ball, obviously we know Fred in terms of pressing is one of the best in Europe, and he showed it again tonight. So fantastic performance from United. Yes, Damien, Leeds did keep coming to us man to man, and they did get too tight, especially in that midfield area, as I said. And what that meant was because the Leeds players were going towards the United goal, looking to get on the front foot all the time, as soon as United were able to get that ball beyond them, there's suddenly a massive head start for Fred and McTominay in that run because Leeds players are moving that way, and they've got to then turn and run back, which takes them time, by which time Fred and McTominay in this game were away. They were away against the defence, and that's where we created so many chances from. And yes, Martial was terrific. Was Luke Shaw injured? Missed the sub? I don't think he was injured. I think it was just a case of taking him off, give Tellus some game time, and rest Shaw for the next game. Well, cheers guys for the comments. Hope you've enjoyed the stream today, and until next time, well, thank you for watching and see you again next time. Fantastic performance from United. Enjoy your evening, everyone.